Tonight, Hurricane Dorian heads up the eastern coast of the United States. This as the storm hammers the Bahamas, leaving unprecedented destruction in its wake. And
are they locked inside the boat?
A catastrophic boat fire in California leaves dozens dead. Plus,
I've never sexually assaulted anyone.
The anniversary of a contentious showdown over Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. And
to the courage of a great people.
The vice president marks the 80th anniversary of the German invasion of Poland, triggering the onset of World War II. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Keeping a watchful eye on the storm now moving dangerously close to Florida. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup. Well, tonight Hurricane Dorian continues its slow churn. With a view from space, you can start to appreciate the sheer size of the slowing but expanding storm. The International Space Station captured these images flying over Hurricane Dorian. This as the massive storm is still battering the Bahamas. At least 5 people are dead in the island nation, leaving behind unprecedented devastation and catastrophic damage. On the U.S. coast, southeastern states are battening down the hatches, preparing for the worst, with an increasing risk to Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. We have team coverage on the ground in Florida. National security correspondent Eric Phillips is in Daytona Beach, and CBN News contributor Chuck Holton is in Port St. Lucie. We begin tonight with CBN's Eric Phillips standing by in Daytona Beach. Eric, what's the expectation there now in Daytona Beach?
Well, John, here in Daytona Beach, they have been waiting for Dorian for days, but they won't have to wait much longer. I interviewed one person who was here on the beach a little while ago, and she told me it's like being stalked by a slow-moving turtle because everyone has been waiting for Dorian to get here, and it's just been so back and forth. But now we're understanding that tropical storm force winds will actually be felt here in Daytona by 2 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's 2 o'clock Wednesday morning. You can see right here behind me, though, that the waves are picking up. You're seeing some rougher surf here than we have seen in the last couple of days that we've been here in Florida. But you'll notice that there are people that are in the water, people that are along the beach. Is that what they're supposed to be doing? Not really, considering the fact that officials have evacuated the beach. They've taken all the lifeguards off of the beach, taken away all of the equipment, and told people that it was dangerous to go. Still, you have some thrill seekers who can't resist coming out on the beach, and then you have some who are just saying, you know, we've been going back and forth with Dorian so much, we know it's not really that close. We'll be okay to come out right now. People who have told us that they have battened down the hatches, boarded up their businesses and their homes, and they are secure and feel good about the fact that all they have to do is go home, and right now it's okay to be out here. What officials are expecting, though, is that, again, by 2 o'clock tomorrow morning, there will be tropical storm force winds blowing through this area. We're talking winds between 20 and 30 miles per hour. Here's why that's good news, though. If you had talked to me around this time yesterday, I would have told you that they were expecting those winds to blow through at around noon and last 24 to 48 hours. Well, a day later, they're learning that it won't be until 2 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then when they do start blowing, they won't be as strong as they initially anticipated. And they're only going to last for about 15 to 17 hours. Now, with that being said, here's the key. They want folks here to remain vigilant because, as you know, Dorian has been fickle. He's going one way, he's going another way. Oops, we think he's going to go this way. So this is a storm that has changed its mind several times. And what officials want people here to know is that they need to remain vigilant because if Dorian decides to go just a little bit to the west, the effects that could be felt here will be much worse. As it is, tropical storm force winds are nothing to play with when you consider the power outages and other damage that could be caused by it. And of course, we'll be here to see how it all results. John.
Eric, now this is not the first big storm to hit the Daytona Beach area. Dorian has to be bringing back memories of Hurricane Irma for some of those people down there.
Yeah, I've heard people talking about Hurricane Irma, people talking about Hurricane Matthew. This one's probably closer to Hurricane Matthew than any of the others in terms of the track that it's taking. And as a matter of fact, it's actually tracking a bit further away from the East Coast than Hurricane Matthew. And I think that's another thing that gives people a little bit of a sense of relief is that, well, if we lived through Matthew, even as terrible as it was, and this one's not tracking quite as bad as that one was, then we should be okay here. But that being said, people here who have lived in the area for any length of time have lived through a number of severe weather situations, whether they're hurricanes or otherwise. And that's why there's a bit of a sense of we know how to deal with this. Been here, done that. We know what to do. You know, there's a sense of confidence in dealing with it, but folks don't want to be too confident or overly confident because this could be a dangerous situation.
Well, Eric, we appreciate your report. We're asking you and photojournalist Mario Gonzalez to be safe as you ride out the storm tonight in Daytona. Well, weather is nothing if not unpredictable, and the path of Hurricane Dorian has made some changes along the way, now stalling out over the Atlantic. Joe Bastardi is chief meteorologist for Weatherbelt Analytics. Bastardi said it's not uncommon for storms to stall and continue to churn in this part of the ocean.
Storms stall in this area quite often, right, between 25 and 30 north. They're known as the horse latitudes, and they call them the horse latitudes, I believe, if the story's right, because horses that were being transported to the New World would die because the wind would collapse and they could not get the boat all the way across the Atlantic. So what happens is they learn to sail underneath and over the top. So storms stall here. And when they make that west bend, and folks that were watching the other morning, I said, that's like textbook.
CBN News contributor Chuck Holton is also in Florida, where communities and ministries are coming together to prepare for the storm. He has the latest from West Palm Beach.
Palm Beach Gardens Fire Department have had several days to prepare for this storm, and they feel like they've got everything set. They're all ready, but now it's just a waiting game as this storm moves so slowly that nobody knows where or if it's going to make any landfall.
But while these first responders prepare to help everyone else, sometimes their own families get neglected. That's why these members of Christ Fellowship Church in West Palm Beach are pulling together to help the helpers.
So we've brought in a lot of supplies that we're ready to respond quickly after the storm. We have truckloads of water, Gatorade, baby diapers, formula, other resources that people will need the minute the storm is over. And then after that, we have chainsaws, generators ready to help get people back to normal.
And this ministry brings something even more important to those in need.
We bring a hope that other people cannot bring. So there are cities that are prepared. There are fire stations that are filled. Everybody is helping. There's lots of organizations that are helping. But what I know is that I bring the hope of Jesus, and that our church brings the hope of Jesus, and other organizations can't do that.
And CBN contributor Chuck Holton joins us now from West Palm Beach. Chuck, what kind of conditions are you seeing out there now?
Come on, call me, guys.
Chuck, I just want to correct the record. I understand you're in Port St. Lucie.
Need audio. No audio.
We'll try to get back to Chuck in just a moment. The Coast Guard has suspended its search for survivors of a California boat fire. Some 34 people are now presumed dead. 20 of those confirmed after the tragic boat fire near an island off the southern coast of Florida, or California, rather.
I can't breathe. Roger, are they locked inside the boat? Roger, can you get back on board and unlock the boat, unlock the doors so they can get off?
The call for help came in around 3 o'clock in the morning. The dive boat had been anchored near the shore when it erupted into flames. 5 crew members escaped by jumping into the water, but most of the passengers were asleep and trapped inside the burning boat. Rescuers had hoped some of those initially believed to be missing possibly made it to a nearby island. Investigators say they still do not know the cause of the fire. And I think we're going to try to go back to Chuck. Is that right? Chuck Holton in Port St. Lucie. Chuck, what kind of conditions are you seeing there on the ground now? All right, we're going to just move on. Well, coming up, 1 year after one of the most contentious Supreme Court nominations, we take a look at what that means for the next one after the break.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Well, it was a year ago today when America witnessed a new low in politics with the confirmation hearing of Brett Kavanaugh. And though it may be hard to imagine, it could get even uglier for the next Supreme Court nominee. Lawmakers returned this week to a quiet Capitol Hill, a far cry from what it was just a year ago, when the confirmation hearing of Justice Brett Kavanaugh devolved into what many observers called a circus.
Mr. Chairman, I think we ought to have this loudmouth removed.
This is getting into the twilight zone.
Carrie Severino co-authored Justice on Trial, a new book with insider accounts of key players from the White House to the Senate and the Supreme Court. She told CBN News Kavanaugh's confirmation was less about him and more about politicization of the court, a deep public divide, and a well-coordinated effort between special interests, PR teams, and the media.
So all of those went together to produce really the worst confirmation process we've seen in American history.
While President Trump called for a swift bipartisan vote, the hearings instead moved slowly, filled with sordid allegations of alcohol abuse, assault, and rape.
I am here because I believe it is my civic duty to tell you what happened to me.
I'm here today to tell the truth. I've never sexually assaulted anyone, not in high school, not in college, not ever.
Severino says it was just as volatile behind the scenes, including one account just before the committee vote when tempers flared.
That room was full of dozens of people, senators, their staffers, and a fist fight nearly broke out. And one of the points of concern there was the frustration that they felt like senators weren't playing it straight and that there was interference by the staff that was inappropriate.
As Kavanaugh returns to his second term in October, fallout from his contentious hearing still remains. Republicans who supported him are locked in tough re-election bids, and some White House hopefuls say they're open to packing the court. Severino warns filling the next Supreme Court vacancy could actually be worse.
What concerns me is, of course, the next seat could be a liberal justice stepping down with Donald Trump making the replacement. And that, if you think Kennedy to Kavanaugh is a shift, you know, a liberal justice, Justice Ginsburg, for example, to a Trump nominee would be a night and day change on the court. And I think we could see the incentives build to have an even more outrageous nomination process.
When we come back, the latest mass shooting in America is putting the politics of gun violence back on the Hill and on the 2020 campaign trail.
Give me that. Bye. Sure, life is busy, but I found a way to make a huge difference in people's lives. I guess you could say I'm changing the world right here from home. I bring medical supplies and doctors to people in need, and dig wells so that villagers can have clean and safe water to drink. I make it possible to preach the gospel in over 100 countries, including right here in America. And when disaster strikes, I'm there, providing food, thank you, and emergency supplies to give people hope again. Every day, CBN and I are making the world a better place. Here you go. My life is hectic, so I joined CBN through Pledge Express. My bank does all the work, and I know that my gift is being used where it's needed most. So become a CBN partner and join Pledge Express, because you can do a world of good right from where you are. Hi, good morning. Are you ready to get started?
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
Welcome back. A neighbor of the gunman who killed 7 people in West Texas says her family was afraid of him. Rocio Gutierrez told reporters Seth Ater would go out at night shooting at animals and then feared he might start shooting at them. An FBI agent described the suspect's residence as strange and said it reflected his mental state ahead of the shooting spree. Ator was killed by police outside an Odessa movie theater on Saturday after opening fire on state troopers during a traffic stop and then fleeing, shooting at random passers-by and vehicles. Well, joining us now is Chris Brown, the president of the Brady Campaign, a bipartisan group focused on putting an end to gun violence. Chris, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
What do you make of this latest shooting? Does it at all move the dial?
Well, I think that as more of the details emerge, we'll see. I think one of the things that, well, many things are very troubling about this shooting. One is that the shooter actually used an assault-style weapon. We see this time and again in these mass shootings. The second, as you noted for your viewers, is that there were signs of real trouble with this person. Neighbors saw him doing this. Another report that I read over the weekend indicated that he had an altercation that was very troubling to a neighbor that may or may not have involved brandishing a weapon. These are the precise kinds of circumstances that in states that have passed extreme risk laws or red flag laws would potentially allow a court order to remove individuals at risk. So I think the policy implications of this particular shooting really are coming to bear in a way that say, why is Congress not acting on this? And why did Texas, after the Santa Fe shooting last year, instead of strengthening the law, ironically, the day after the shooting, Texas had a package of laws that weakened state law go into effect on September 1st. That's the wrong direction to take.
Chris, the big news today, Walmart announced it will stop selling ammunition for both handguns and assault-style rifles. Is this the free market reacting to the mass shootings?
It is the free market reacting to the shootings, and of course Walmart is no stranger to this. They had this horrific massacre happen in El Paso. They had another mass shooting happen in their store just the week before. And events like this have happened in Walmarts across the country. I think it's a sign, yes, of the private sector stepping up. It's also a sign of Congress failing to act. If you look at what the Walmart CEO said, he said, we're not going to sell certain kinds of ammunition. We're not going to allow open carry in our stores. And I'm calling on Congress and lawmakers to enact, expanded background checks, and to enact extreme risk laws, what I just talked about. Why is he doing that? Because Congress has failed to act. So I think Walmart is using its economic power and its bully pulpit appropriately to try to move the needle a bit in the right direction, and I applaud it for what it's done.
Could Walmart get any backlash? I seem to recall Dick's having a similar move after mass shooting, and people complaining that it was a step too far. Does Walmart actually suffer the same type of potential backlash?
Potentially. I think if you look at the trajectory of the consumer and the market response to Dick's, the CEO would say it's a net positive. They just reported very strong last quarter results, and the CEO himself has credited the actions that he took to do that. I think other market actors need to look at that and understand that consumers are yearning for leadership from the market and from CEOs around this issue, and it's kind of a no-brainer because it's the one issue across America, regardless of a red or blue state or Democrat or Republican. People want laws that actually protect the public safety, and that's these laws.
Chris, New York Congressman Jerry Nadler, the Democratic chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, is bringing back his committee early from summer break. Some of the issues they're looking at include a ban on high-capacity magazines, better background checks, and red flag laws. Are these issues enough? Do they have enough bipartisan support to actually pass through both chambers?
Well, if bipartisan means a few Republicans voting for the bills, yes, they do. We need more, and we need more people to have courage of their convictions. And I think we also need to make sure that each of us who's sitting at home and watching this, look, let's face it, I went back to school shopping with my daughters this weekend in Target, and the first thing I was thinking after, where's the spiral-bound notebook, is where are the exits? We don't have to live this way. This doesn't have to be our version of America. And if we want the House and the Senate to act, we need to get on the phone and call our lawmakers and say, we support these measures. They need to hear from all of us to actually move forward with these proposals.
Gun control has become a campaign issue for Democrats in the presidential campaign trail. Yeah. How big of an issue do you foresee this becoming in 2020?
I think it's going to be a huge issue. And the reality is, unless and until we move forward with the solutions that we know can reduce the epidemic of gun violence. Keep in mind, we're losing 100 people a day, 100 people every single day, the equivalent of a regional jet falling from the sky. Then there will be a next incident and a next one and a next one, and that will be on people's minds. The voters are not walking away from this because they don't feel safe anywhere. And each of the candidates that's out there right now in the Democratic field is sort of competing against one another to take the strongest stand. I think the reality is the president has an opportunity here to lead. I'd like to see him do that. And I wish that he would listen to Brady and a lot of the organizations out there and the American people on this, because they want these changes to happen.
All right, Chris Brown, thank you so much for being with us and coming in today.
Thank you so much.
Well, coming up, the Vice President celebrates a milestone 80 years after the beginning of World War II. That story next.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
As the nations rage, you can stand with Israel.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
Call 1-800-700-7000 and get to life.
This is our nature as a country.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
Support Israel in their time of need. Get to Life, now available on DVD. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
And I wish that other people throughout the world could see this side of Israel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Finally tonight, the Vice President took part in a special ceremony this weekend commemorating Poland's role in World War II.
And today, in the heart of Warsaw, standing humbly before the tomb of the unknown soldier, we've gathered to bear witness to the courage of a great people, to the spirit of a great nation, and to the profound and lasting strength of a great civilization. We remember those that were lost on this day, but we also do well to celebrate. To celebrate an enduring victim for freedom and the role that the people of Poland played by their strength and their example.
The military parade in Warsaw Sunday marked the 80th anniversary of the onset of World War II after the Nazi invasion of Poland 80 years ago. The Vice President made the trip in place of President Trump, who stayed in the United States to monitor Hurricane Dorian. And this is just yet another opportunity to thank the greatest generation. Well, thank you for joining us tonight for Faith Nation. See you tomorrow.